when you are an investor and you're looking at a startup company, of course you are looking at, is the team great? And you are looking at, is the idea great? Is a great market? And this is all fine, but you also want to see some indication that it actually works, that you actually have some traction. There's some momentum that is building up. And of course you can see that in some numbers that directly show it, like if you have a website that more and more people visit the website, if you have revenues, that the revenues are growing in a nice way, even if your profits a bit later in the stage, that the profits are building up. And there are many other indicators like that. One of them is a trend in the people who join the company. So if the people who start the company are a so-so caliber, if you look at them from the CV point of view, but then after a while you see more and more skilled people coming to that company, then you can easily conclude that there must be something in that company that these smart people get fascinated by. So that's a very strong indication. Another thing you can look at is, of course, investors who have invested in the company. If some investors that are really smart money, that really do due diligence, that really have the instincts to find the best investments, if they come on board in the company, that kind of indicates to you that there's something going on here that's interesting. There's more. You can look at what happens on social media. I tend not to like if you have a lot of hype when a company is launched and then the hype sort of slowly dies down. It's far better if there's no hype in the beginning and then it slowly builds up. And this actually can be quite wise because you don't want to have too much hype far ahead of when you have something to launch. It's something I know, for instance, when I write books, I tell the publisher, shall I go out and promote now that the book comes out in 3 months? And they say, no, don't do that. It doesn't work. You have to promote it just before it comes out. So same, you want to see the hype build up slowly. And when I say hype, it might sound like a bad word, but the courage, the positive attitude, the exposure in media and social media as well as other media should build up gradually. That's a good thing. The other thing that you would look a lot at is this company beginning to build either a category king situation or a very strong network effect? Those two things, by the way, might go together. So the category king is a company that's just a little bit better than all the other ones in its category. Typically, a category king gets into that situation by actually having invented the category, but it's not always like that. So, some companies, they go out, they launch a product, but the product is so different from anything else that it's a new category. So they are in a position to dominate that category. But it could also be somebody else who comes into a category and they're just better than the rest. And you see that, so let's say out of 100% of the market, there are lots of companies that have 10 or 15%, but there's one that has 30%. So the one that has 30% seems to be the emerging category king. So what the category king very often can do is it can close the best deals, it can attract the best people, it can also raise money on better terms than the others. So you're one of the people who have to supply money, but just think about what it can do with that money. It can invest in the other companies. It can buy the smaller companies and do what you call valuation arbitrage. And that means maybe this company, because of its position as category king, can raise money at 30 times revenues. But the smaller ones who are more dicey, where it's unclear how well they will do, they can only raise money at 10 times the revenues. So what the category king starts doing is buying these ones. So it's clearly doing valuation arbitrage. It raises money at a high valuation for itself and buy the other ones at a lower valuation. And that becomes a very good deal for all the investors in the category king. Another sign of traction is, of course, that you see this network effect building up. That you see that it's not the company marketing itself anymore. It's the users, it's all the people around it that's lifting the company up. When you see that, it's like you get real appetite to get on board. So of all the different indicators of there is momentum and traction in a company, if I should choose one that is most important, that would be the network effect. Any sign of a great network effect will get me really interested. One more thing to look at is how quickly they raise money and how much money they raise. It turns out when you look at statistics and also from my own experience that many of the really successful companies raise money quite often. So they do many quick small rounds, or in some cases they do bigger and bigger rounds, but very quickly. But if they do it very quickly, what does that tell you? It tells you that it's not easy for. What does that tell you? It tells you that it's not difficult for them. It's almost like they pick up the phone and say, send more money. And I'll send money. Yeah, I love you. I send money. So what does it means that they're not struggling at all. It means that there are probably a number of investors who are like competing to get on board here. Companies that are able to raise a lot of money and are able to do it very, very frequently tend to be on the road to something really big.
Do you speak future?